My name is Isabella Mendoza, and I graduated in 2023 with my PhD in mechanical engineering from the Extreme Structures and Materials Laboratory. Currently, I am employed by MatchID, a Belgium-based quantitative imaging software company that specializes in techniques such as digital image correlation, material testing, and finite element model validation. My title is president of their US office. As president of MatchID US, I'm responsible for the entirety of our US customer base. My responsibilities include business development by attending technical conferences, training new customers on this specialized software, and consulting on their projects involving experimental mechanics. So this is where my PhD really comes in handy. Most of the time, I'm talking to people who either also have their own PhDs or have worked in the field for decades. And so that sort of in-depth knowledge, technical knowledge really comes in handy. Our customers have a wide range from new professors in small universities, established working professionals in private industry, up to government contractors from national and military labs. So there is this technique that's pretty well used in the experimental mechanics community, and it's called digital image correlation, or DIC. And what it does is you use cameras to image different materials or structures being loaded at quasi-static or dynamic strain rates. And what this does is you get to extract quantitative measurements out of your images, such as deformation, strain, even stress. And so that just sort of gives users the information they need to make informed decisions on how to design their components or why the material is behaving a certain way under different loads. What excites me most about my job is being able to interact with such a wide variety of people all across academia, private industry, and like I mentioned, even government. I'm able to advise and use my expertise on several projects with different applications such as aerospace, automotive, biomechanics, and so much more. Being able to think fast on my feet and interact with groups from different technical backgrounds makes my job really entertaining, I would say. When you do your PhD and you complete it, it's almost like you've been trained for, 4, 5, 6 years to be a professor, to stay in a university, and to mentor other students. And so transitioning to sort of commercial industry was very challenging for me. As a PhD student, you're not taught how to run a company, how to set up a corporation, how to talk to lawyers. But I think what makes the difference is that my company was very supportive. They'd been doing this kind of work for years, and they made it very clear that they could teach me anything else I didn't know. I also utilized a lot of resources from Minds, actually. I did utilize the Career Center when it came to interviews. I utilized professors who specialized in economics and business to sort of get their advice on this kind of role. And so while the challenges are still there, I would say that having a very supportive network and really taking advantage of the resources around you is very important. In terms of academic milestones or research milestones, going through, the proposal, the thesis defense, it sort of helped me realize how much I love talking to people about technical work and being able to summarize it all in a single sentence even. But I think outside of that, there was so much more to my degree than my research and my grades. I was also involved in the graduate student government for most of my time at Minds. I served as the representative for the mechanical engineering department, their vice president, and finally their chair of academic affairs. And I think just being able to communicate to other graduate students and to other administration at Minds helped me figure out that maybe I don't want to be in a lab doing research all day, that I like being able to talk to as many people as possible. I like being able to connect with everyone. And so I would say, the experience you have at Mines is really what you make of it. Grades and research are extremely important and of course should be top priority, but that should never stop you from exploring what else there is to offer at Mines. I think when you're in school or when you're, starting out in your career, you assume that everyone has a very clear description of what their job requires, what they're supposed to do day in and day out. And what I am figuring out is that everyone else is also still figuring it out. Regardless of whether you're 1 year into your career, 10 years into your career, 20 years into your career. I know many folks in academia and industry who are, 3 decades into their career and they're still trying to find new things to do, new projects, always challenging themselves. And so I guess what surprised me most was that I didn't have to have it all figured out before I started the position, and that people will help you figure out what you're supposed to do. And it's okay if it's not super clear. I will say that something I also figured out is that you can always change roles, you can always change positions, and you can always change companies. I had a few job offers when I graduated. One of them was specifically for a pyroelectronics group, which I have never done any pyroelectronic work, but that group seemed to think that my technical background was enough to work off of. They also were very transparent and mentioned that if I wanted to explore other roles within that company, they would be open to it. Now, I ended up not, accepting that position, but it seems that major companies and, small and major companies are very transparent in helping you find the role that you want. And so if you look at a job application and you only meet 60 to 70% of their criteria, but it sounds really cool, I would still encourage you to apply to that kind of role because you never know where it could lead. When my friends and I were in the job application process, we found that most of the time we applied to a job, it would be forwarded to another department, another recruiter. And so everyone's trying to help you find your best fit. And it's worth it to work with them to see what that is.